of spirit, I bow in my grief today. Thy depth of my sad heart are troubled, awaken and say, I pray. Torrent of sin and of anguish, sweep all my sinking soul, and I perish the Master. Oh, hasten and take control.
Former Vice Chancellors here present, distinguished professors, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the 102nd inaugural lecture. We're about to receive the academic procession. Please, I will request that we honor the academic procession as we rise on our feet for the procession. The academic procession is led by the acting registrar of the university, Mrs. IBS Harry. We have a number of professors robing today. We have Professor A.O. Borama, Professor E. Tantua, Professor Joseph Vepene, Professor Justin Gabriel, Professor Sam Ofamiri, Professor Lovely Wanyawu, Professor D.W. Dagugu, Professor G.K. Fakorogo, Professor I.K.E. Ekwozu, Professor John Sodiki, Professor K.B. Basham, Professor S.W. Amadioha, Professor Seth Akrajaja, former VC Federal University of Tweke, Professor W.J. Bulom, Professor Makwala, Professor B. Udemena, Professor James Didier, Professor Hilary Ward, Professor Bomadambo, Professor L.O. Manzi, Professor Vivian Olefuru, Professor Paul Nadube, Professor Frank Amoku, Professor Benjamin Amadi, Professor N.M. Nafo, Professor J.L. Kone, Professor John Mack, Professor A.H. Igoni, Director Quality Assurance, Professor S.A. Abere, Director Center for Climate Change and Forest Resources, Professor Chitru Olumene, Provost College of Medical Sciences, Professor M.J. Ayotamuno, Head of Campus Eche, Professor Donald Hamilton, Head of Campus Emoha, Professor T.S.K. Abam, Dean Postgraduate School, Professor David King Kabari, Dean Faculty of Agri, Professor Solomon Elawo, Dean Faculty of Clinical Sciences, Professor Richard Amadi, Dean Faculty of Communication Media Studies, Professor J.G. Abba, Dean Faculty of Engineering, Professor Jones M. Jaja, Dean Faculty of Humanities, Professor Bright Okwara, Dean of Students Affairs. We have our own Vice Chancellor, Professor Lerum Kobule, Deputy Vice Chancellor Admin, Professor Victor Kujuru, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Valentine Wopepu, the Acting Registrar, Mrs. IBS Harry, the Dean Faculty of Administration and Management, Professor John Ohaka, the Chairman, Senate Lectures Committee, Professor Hosi Nokoima, the University Orator, Professor Isaac Zebo BP, and the Inaugural Lecturer, Professor Patrick NWINYOKPUGI. The University Anthem.
We sing of thee, flower of knowledge and peace. In the garden city stands a tree, from whence inspirations come. The people of many a tongue come and search and find a golden place. All for us simple and humble song, all for excellence and creativity. Praise you, we sing of thee, flower of knowledge and peace. Busy we on toilers of thee, fruitful science and tech we grow. Keep in motion the wheel of truth, waters of the rivers always flow, to build a nation in truth, all for excellence and creativity.
Vice Chancellor, sir, while we are still standing, may I invite Professor Bright Opara for the opening prayer.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this day which you have made. Thank you for your mercies. Thank you for your loving kindness. Thank you for journey mercies you granted those who came from far and near. Thank you for this day which you have made, that our brother Patrick will give his inaugural lecture. Thank you for the wisdom and knowledge. We commit every section of this inaugural lecture to your grace and care. We pray, Lord, that it shall be well with him, it shall be well with the university, it shall be well with our guest. And at the end, let all glory, honor, and adoration be ascribed unto you and you alone. For in Jesus' name we have prayed.
Please, you may have your seats. The Vice Chancellor, Principal Officers of the University, former Vice Chancellors and Deputy Vice Chancellors, the Provost College of Medical Sciences, heads of campuses, deans, directors, invited guests, family members of the inaugural lecturer, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the 102nd inaugural lecture of our university. The tradition we've kept back to back for a number of years, courtesy of our own dynamic Vice Chancellor. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you the award-winning Vice Chancellor, Professor Lerum Esokobole, DSSROS Fellow, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. You're welcome, Vice Chancellor, sir. We also have in our midst the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Admin, Professor Victor Akujuru. We have the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, Professor Valentine Omobopepu. Also seated on the high table is the Acting Registrar of the University, Mrs. Ibimonia B.S. Harry. We have the Chairman, Senate Lectures Committee, Professor Hudson Okoima. We also have the University Orator, Professor Isaac Zeb Obipi. Also on the high table is the Dean, Faculty of Administration and Management, Professor John Ohaka. And we have the inaugural lecturer, Professor Patrick NWINYOKPUGI. The Vice Chancellor, sir, permits me to introduce former Vice Chancellors who have come to grace this occasion today. We have our own father, Emeritus Professor S.C. Achinewu, former Vice Chancellor of this university. We also have Professor Barineme B. Fakai, former Vice Chancellor of this university. And we yet have Professor Seth Akra Jaja, former Vice Chancellor of Federal University, Otueke. We have former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Alex Monsi, is here in our midst. We also have former Deputy Vice Chancellor Admin, Professor Namdi Okoroma. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to also introduce the Provost College of Medical Sciences, who is also the Chairman, Committee of Provosts and Deans of this great university, Professor Chituru Oluwene. We have the Head of Campus, Eche, Professor M.J. Ayotamano. Head of Campus, Emoha, Professor Donald Hamilton. And the Dean, Postgraduate School, Professor T.S.K. Abam. Let me recognize council members who are here seated. We have Professor Richard Amadi, council member. You're welcome, sir. And I've earlier introduced Professor Isaac Zeb Obipi, also council member. You're welcome. Let me recognize all the deans who are here and the directors who are also here. Please appreciate our deans and directors. And let me also recognize the clergy and the special guests who have come to honor our inaugural lecturer today. Please appreciate our guests who have come to honor inaugural lecturer. And let me especially recognize the immediate family of the inaugural lecturer. Please put your hands together for them, the immediate family. And let me recognize every other guest who have come here today to honor our inaugural lecturer. Vice Chancellor, sir, on that note, it's my pleasure to hand over the microphone to the Acting Registrar of the University to invite the Vice Chancellor for his opening remarks. Registrar.
The former Vice Chancellors, the former Deputy Vice Chancellors, the principal officers, deans and directors, professors, invited guests. I most respectfully have the honor of inviting the Vice Chancellor to give his opening remarks. The Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you very much. Please, may I humbly request those on this row Can you promote yourselves? Those at the back, come forward, please. Because this thing is being captured. Let us fill these seats in front. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. The former vice chancellors of this great university, I'm seeing Emeritus Professor Simeon Chetro Achinehu, Professor Barineme B. Fakaye, and our brother, former vice chancellor of Federal University of Toke, Professor Seth Akra Jaja, the deputy vice chancellor of this university administration, Professor Victor Akujuru, deputy vice chancellor academic, Professor Valentine Ombo Pepo, the acting registrar of the university, Mrs. IBS Harry, the members of the 14th Governing Council of our university, the former deputy vice chancellors of this university. I'm seeing Professor Okoroma, N.S. Okoroma, and of course our father, who is also there with him. The provost and chairman of the Committee of Provosts and Deans, the heads of campuses, Professor Hamilton is here. I can see Professor Ayo Tamuno of Iche campus. As I always say, I don't know whether he brought some kegs of palm wine from Iche. HOC Ahoda, deans of faculties here present, heads of departments, directors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my special pleasure and privilege to welcome all of us to this inaugural lecture today. This is the 102nd inaugural lecture of our university. And it's going to be delivered by somebody who is an expert in information management and administration. And I'm talking about Professor Patrick NKIINEBARI, NWINYOKPUGI. And I say this for two main reasons. First of all, Professor NWINYOKPUGI is somebody that has demonstrated expertise in this very rare field of academic endeavor. The department used to be known as Department of Secretarial Administration. And it's my pleasure to inform this gathering today that the inaugural lecturer played a key role in transiting and transforming that department from Secretarial Administration to Department of Information Management. He played a key role. And I think it's one of the 3 musketeers in that department. They know themselves. They know themselves. Secondly, this lecture is coming at a time when there's a lot of concern about how to handle administrative procedures, not only in Nigeria, but worldwide. People are thinking of how we can have administrative procedures and mechanisms that will respond to the challenges of the times. Today, we are talking about globalization, which has affected every segment of society. And it is important for leaders of organizations to be able to attune their organizations with those changes in society, to be able to be effective and to be relevant in contemporary times. So the title of the lecture itself is 21st Century Administration, Leveraging the Information GAVEL. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the central theme of the lecture is how these administrative procedures can be deployed to achieve maximum efficiency. The importance of efficient administrative procedures in any organization cannot be overemphasized. The driving force in setting up these administrative procedures is, of course, leadership. That is why leadership is key in any organization. Because of the changing dynamics of society, it is important for leaders to reinvent and refocus administrative procedures and processes to achieve maximum efficiency. Considering the pedigree of our distinguished inaugural lecturer today, I have no doubt at all that he's well equipped to demonstrate to us the best way administrators should respond to the societal changes and challenges in a fast-paced, globalized world. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this inaugural lecturer is somebody who has not only practiced administrative management, he has also been involved in the study of the procedures that we are talking about at several levels. From the private sector, he now came into the public sector, and he has been able to utilize these practical experiences to advance his knowledge and expertise in information management and administration. On this score, therefore, I sincerely implore you all to listen attentively to this inaugural lecturer today. And you will, at the end, join me to assess and determine whether the Rivers State University did the right thing in appointing him as a professor in this university. And I know, without much equivocation, that he will creditably acquit himself in this assignment. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to the 102nd inaugural lecture of the Rivers State University. Thank you, and God bless all of us.
The Vice Chancellor, sir, please permit me to acknowledge the presence of the BOT Chairman, Hyprep, Chief Dr. Mike Nwelaga. You're welcome, sir. Also, let me also acknowledge Dr. Batam Ndigwe. Doc, you're welcome, sir. And we have the Chairman, Ben Elders Council, Dr. C.S. Inaugural lecturer is in our midst, Mrs. Omotunde Idayat Patrick. And his daughter, Pharmacy Lekabari Dasola Patrick. The Vice Chancellor, sir, it's my pleasure now to invite the University Orator, Professor Isaac Zebo, BP, to do a citation on the inaugural lecturer.
The Vice Chancellor, please permit me to stand on the already existing protocol to read the citation. But one permission. For quite a long time now, I'm seeing the man who appointed me as a university orator the first time in attendance at this inaugural lecture. Please permit me to acknowledge Professor Fakaye. Professor Faki, thank you very much. Professor Patrick NWINYOKPUGI was born to a Christian Catholic family of Madam Lydia NWINYOKPUGI and Mr. Cletus NWINYOKPUGI, all of Penya in Kana local government area of Rivers State, Nigeria, on the 21st of February 1973. As the last child of his parents, he was Mama's pet, who grew with much love and corresponding discipline. He got his first school leaving certificate in 1982 and immediately got admitted and finished his secondary education at Panya Community Secondary School. He sat for the entrance examination into the River State Polytechnic Bori and got admitted in 1990-1991 session. He later earned a competitive first-class degree in secretarial administration. He deserves a round of applause. From this university in 1997, an MBA management degree, and then proceeded to the University of Port Harcourt, where he earned an MSc Personnel Management and Industrial Relations, and a PhD in Management in 2008 and 2013, respectively. On the 27th day of September 1992, after his final national diploma examination, he got an industrial attachment placement with Vakins Oil Services Limited, as they were one of the companies that came to scout for best students of the Polytechnic, and he resumed work with them on the 30th of September 1992, the next Monday after his final examination. On the 4th of December same year, he went for an official assignment at Shell PDC Air Office, met an existing opportunity in the training unit, and was drafted to start work the following morning. In one of the senior managers' meetings where he was taking minutes, a senior manager took him out at a tea break and was curious to know what he was writing. He told him shorthand, and he asked, "How can you present these minutes from these chicken lines?" He told him he was trained to do so. 2 weeks later, he was posted to the legal department where that senior manager was head. The National Youth Service took him to Enugu, and he was deployed to UBA Road. He resumed, but could not cope with the standing and counting of money, especially as a defender of the NYC football team Enugu. Time was not on his side for frequent trainings. He therefore sought and got redeployed to IMT Enugu. He had a good work life with IMT and was made the chairman, the departmental's accreditation committee. In 2000, he was employed by Standard Trust Bank and later moved to Oceanic Bank. In 2005, he responded to Dr. Mrs. Ogwoje's call on him to join the academic team of the Department of Secretarial Administration as it was then. And so his academic life started. He has over 76 publications and 240 citations with an H index of 8. He earned the Best Graduating Students Award of the then military governor of Rivers State, Colonel Shehu, which monetary value was 50,000 naira in 1998 during his graduation ceremony. He also earned the Dean Faculty of Management Sciences Award for the Best Graduate Student of the Faculty of Management Sciences, and others, including Bio Oil Nigeria Best Graduate Student Award of the university in 1996-1997 section. Best 300 level student award of the faculty, who was handed over to him by Professor Isaac Zebobepe. Professor Patrick NWINYOKPUGI developed the first proposal of Office and Information Management Program under the able tutelage of Dr. Mrs. Elizabeth Ugoji, gave it the name and nurtured it to reality as Dream Come Through, and still pioneered the development of the postgraduate program. In this direction, he considers the more important achievement to be the development of a new career path for those whose secretarial degree had kept on the flat world. Today, he is a happy 202nd distinguished inaugural lecturer of this university and the globe as a professor. The Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Please permit me to welcome, to present the 102nd inaugural lecture, a mama's pet, a definition of effort meets opportunity, the town gown link pin, and an award-winning scholar, Professor Patrick B. NWINYOKPUGI.
Good afternoon and welcome, my Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration and Academics, the Acting Registrar, and Secretary to Council as well as Secretary to Senate, the University Acting Librarian, University Acting Bossa, members of the Governing Council, Provost, Medical Colleges, Deans of Postgraduate School, Deans, Head of Campuses, Dean of Faculties, and Director of Institutes and Centers, distinguished professors, former Vice Chancellors here present, former Deputy Vice Chancellors here present, former registrars here present. Head of departments and head of units, other academic and non-academic staff, royal fathers and highnesses and chiefs, politicians here present, bishops, reverends, visiting academics and captains of industries, staff of my department, office and information management, and students, my beautiful wife, my Dora. Welcome. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am Professor Patrick NKIINEBARI NWINYOKPUGI. This day, I come before you to present the 102 inaugural lecture titled 21st Century Administration, Leveraging the Information GAVEL. I want to employ you to listen. Sometime I'm not used to looking at the board, but I will discuss with you as we flow. My journey and my drive started sometime in 1992 after my final exam at the University of Polytechnic Bori. On the 27th day, Friday, September 1992, after my final exams, I was now invited by my HOD, and behold, what I saw was a group of corporate actors that came to scout for best brains in the school. And I was fortunate to be part of that. And I resumed with Vikings Oil. In December, on my official assignment to SPDC, I got an opportunity and was absorbed as an attaché with SPDC, tender department, later drafted to legal department. Represented Shell in court alongside OCG Okocha and other senior lawyers then. But I tell you, my stay with SPDC was the beginning of my love for administration. I was among the first 32 young attaches who were trained on the migration from the old Word Perfect, today is Microsoft Word, the old Lotus 123 that today is Excel, and what we call the all-in-one, now Intramail. I featured prominently in that training, And I think that's what gave me a foundation to run information-driven programs. I left Shell and was admitted into UST in 1993. I graduated in 1997 in the first class category. Left UST and joined IMT Enugu. From thence, I joined Bank, Standard Trust Bank and Oceanic Bank. Between then, I had my master's, MBA, MSc, and PhD in management. That's my drive. But I'm so happy today that I am the 102 inaugural professor of the university and the first professor in the Department of Office and Information Management. Our discourse today is enterprising. We are looking at 21st century administration. And we need to ask ourselves, what really is administration? Sometime in this Senate chamber, the VC raised a question. I was asking, all this while I hear administration, I hear management, what really is the difference? And I was bold enough to answer on the floor of Senate that administration is the upper echelon of all organizations, which business is to develop vision for organization, establish the mission statement, and formulate policies that are driven and implemented by managers. So we can say from that definition that management is getting things done through people. So there is no way you have administration without having a management. And so management has its mechanics. You must, as in that administration has its mechanics. You have the people who has the knowledge. That knowledge is driven by technology. Technology has to do with resource. And so this is what I call the mechanics of present day administration. Now, looking at the 21st century, it's a challenge to all of us. Administration has suffered so much because of some, what I call crisis. Now, issues and crisis is easily described as a disconnect between organizational goal and actors' personal interest. That's what I discuss here as issues and crisis. And for us to maintain a smooth driven administration in this century, we need to manage this crisis. How do we do that? We have three strategies to manage issues and crises. One of such is what we call buffering. Sometime, you may remember during Obasanjo's regime, there was an issue or crisis that evolved about Sharia law. And at a given point, a lot of people beckoned on Obasanjo. He said, what do we do about this law? And he said, Sharia will die a natural death. Now, what Obasanjo offered as a strategy was buffering. Now, you use a buffering strategy when you know that the crisis is so frivolous to the extent that its existence will not kill an organization. So you can use buffering. Buffering means stonewalling, delaying in addressing the issue, and the issue will die a natural cause. However, we don't use buffering for very dicey cases, issue crisis. But if you use buffering, you might end up killing your organization. And so that's why we have the next option called bridging. In bridging, we try to reconcile all interests in crisis so that whatever is a need will satisfy them at a given time and will flow together. And the last one is what we call thought leadership. Thought leadership is a preventive strategy, providing the foundation so that to prevent any occurrence of crisis, meaning that you prepare the grounds so I can forestall the existence of crisis and issues. Now, having looked at crisis, we need to go further to look at the side of union. Labor union have been a problem in smooth organization all over the world. And in one of the conferences that I attended in 2018 in Durban, South Africa, the topic was a new focus on labor relations in Africa. Because it was very evident that in the continent of Africa, especially the black Africans, what is dominant in our approach, labor approach, is what we call the imperial, adversarial approach to union. Now, when you become a union leader, all you do, you see your leadership as your problem. And at all times, you see them on the road fighting. Now, but we resolve that African continent should adopt partnership and consultation. I assure you, if unions talk with leadership of organizations and they know their resources and their strength, no union will go on strike. But what is causing our problem is that unions stay aloof from organization and always expect a benefit. If we work and know their problem, like if you work with me and you know my strengths and my resources, like a wife, if you know your husband's resource, at all times when there is need, when there is no need, a wife will not ask you anything. But labor doesn't want to work with anybody. And that's why at all times in Africa, we always at loggerheads. Now, having discussed that, we also look at values. Values have been problems in this country. Values have been relegated from our homes to industries. And so we need a value-based society and a value-based leadership. Now, value-based leadership helps to influence value-based society. How does it do that? I will tell us sometimes with my students, you cannot expect your leaders in Abuja to be sent when you are a dirty person at your own unit. It's not possible. We are the function, we prepare a ground for leadership. If we are dirty, our leadership is also dirty. Until you do that which is within your confines and do it well, you cannot have somebody up to do it well for you. So whatever we have up there is a representation of who we are here down. And that's why in the biblical context we'll say, what is bound on earth is bound in the heaven. Critically, this century has evolved with changes. These changes are driven by new technology, new leadership, new business. And change itself could be human and could be organizational. And so, when these changes come, there is this fear. Now, that fear causes what we call resistance to change. Resistance means deliberate refusal by enterprise actors to accept what? Change. One of the reasons is fear. And that's why in the change resistance management, we do what we call unfreezing the minds of our followership. Unfreezing means telling them the very essence of change, the benefits. Because when I know the reason why we have to change, I must at all times follow you in the change process. But if I'm not informed, fear of the consequence of change will affect me. And that's how I will fight to ensure that change does not occur. Now, having done that, if you succeed in unfreezing the minds of followership, the next thing you do is to do transition, meaning implementing the change initiative, implementing that. And when you have done that, and you ensure that it's catching on all followership, you do what we call refreezing. Refreezing means maintenance of the change process. You maintain it. You see, you cannot introduce a change, give to people, do a change, and leave the change to work. It's not automatic. It has to be maintained. And that's what we're saying. We're asking that at all times, make sure that you refreeze, maintain the change initiatives. And take note that in a change team, we have 3 members. One, I call them the loafers. The other, I call the drivers. And the other one I call the changers. Loafers, don't worry about your change. If the company want to close, let it close. Loafers don't care. They walk about. They're not bothered. They don't have any input. And if the company closes or the system closes, they die with it. They're not bothered. But drivers are change absorbers. They follow change process to the end. And that's what you need for you to initiate a change. Ensure that you have enough drivers. And changers are the members of the change team who have vision. They have vision, and they must ensure that they communicate the vision to you and drive to the end. And that's why we need more changers. We need administrators who have the changers' attitude and work with drivers. Now, have a look at that. Administration is a leadership issue. You cannot take away leadership from administration. And that's why I have what we call administrative leadership psychomotor. A psychomotor is the consciousness that leaders have that drives and regulates their behavior. And so, which means that if you have a better consciousness of yourself, you can be a good administrator. And that's why, for me, I've developed what I call the dual nature personality model of leadership. The dual nature personality model of leadership. You know, in nature, God created things in twos. 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 legs, everything God did is in twos. And so in ourselves, we are 2. Meaning that at one time, we have what we call the ideal you. And we have the alter you in leadership. Every person that occupies a given position of authority must manifest in these 2 two dual nature components. Now, what does the ideal you does? It is the God in you. It respects moral. At all times when you want to take action, your ideal you tells you, please don't do it. Now, if you nurture your ideal you, become a great administrator. But if you nurture your alter you more than your ideal you, become an inefficient leader. Most times in our world, the alter you is very manipulative and deceptive. People who operate in the realm of the alter you want to be seen as great men even when they are empty. They like the world to see them as superstars, but in ideal terms, they are not. They're so deceitful, and they can manipulate you. Now, have a look at that. For us, there is one of these issues that have been bothering administrators over time. That is what we call the ideal bureaucracy. And I call it the door check paradox. You know what we mean by a door check? A check that when you present at the counter, they say return. Are we there? Good. And now, do you imagine that Max Weber took time in 1946 to streamline the tenets of ideal democracy? One of those tenets, he said, hierarchy. Can you run organization without hierarchy? Is it possible? Because hierarchy dictates order. So there will be no disorder, right? And he said, there should be division of labor. That is, every man do that which you think you are expert in. Are we there? And he said, there should be a rule-based conduct, meaning all actions will be governed by rules. You know that there's no human organization that can work without regulation. I'm sure you know that. And so if without rules, how can you work in order? That's Max Weber's idea. And he said, there should be what we call impersonality. Every member that works in an organization is an organizational citizen. Nobody knows you from your village. So we treat you as an organizational what? Citizen. And so don't deal with me because I'm your sister. Do not. That's what Weber advocated for. And we sit down somewhere and say bureaucracy is relativism. It is we, the human factor, who wants to manipulate bureaucracy. That I've seen, they call it, if they want to kill a dog, you call it a bad name. And now call bureaucracy red tape. Is there anything red tape about what I read out for you now? I'm sure there's nothing like that. Now, sometime last week, I just heard one of the points raised by our president. And he said, in the item 7, he said, we want to see how we can reduce democracy. And I begin to wonder, how can man sit down and say, I want to reduce democracy? For what reason? And what do you want to start to be? A disordered society. Now, corruption for us is a problem in the 21st century, seriously. Now, corruption is taking public property for your selfish gain. Very prominent in our kind of nation. We have 3 levels of corruption. One we call the individual level corruption, the corporate level corruption, and one we call the systemic level corruption. Individual level corruption, if I'm corrupt, organization can see me and easily plug me out, and the system runs smoothly. Very easy. One is corporate. An enterprise organization that tries to offer bad products, do dubious activities, and we know them. We take what? Avoid patronage of that organization, and we know them. And the thing closes down. It's very easy. But when it grows to a level of systemic, like we are in this country, it's a wonderland. Everybody in the house, in the society, sees corruption as a norm, as a property. And when you try and make an effort to change what is corrupt, you become a misnomer. But if even your parents will call on you, what your friends are doing, are you not seeing it? You want to come to the house without a house or a car, and you'll be persuaded to be corrupt. It's an issue that has taken over the African countries. And that's why you see every day there is protest for good governance, protest for bad governance. Now, the strategy that corruption icons use is collusion. They form themselves in organizations as clique. Either clique as religion, clique in cults, or clique in different vices. And they come together and perpetrate fraud. And when they do that, people see them as authority. Difficult to change them. The other way is coercive, using force to ensure that corruption permeates the social lines of society. And what do? They work with government, put fear in you, force you. The next one is non-conjunctive strategy. This one is a one-man corrupt icon. He takes all the wealth of all and take them as his affluence, and use the same wealth to pursue all of you. And you have nowhere to stand because you're being bagged by the repressive apparatus of states. It's sudden. And so, how do we stop corruption as administrators? One of the things I've offered here is what I call functional laws, not paper tigers. Our laws must function. Laws function when the laws are obeyed. And failure to obey laws have some serious consequences. So when man sees that there are negative consequences of disobeying law, man obeys law. Functional laws, not paper tigers. The other one is what I call strong institutions. Our institutions are not strong, they're just existing. What we have in our society is strong personalities. Persons are greater than the law. You agree with me that sometime 2 years ago, a Nigerian politician who committed so much crime in this society was moving freely. But they left the society which institutions are weak and got into another society that has strong institutions. And today he's in prison. It tells you that we need strong institutions. Strong institutions. Now, sometime we had the issue of local government autonomy. It's a front burner on the newspapers these days. And I was on the NTA News like on Monday last week discussing local government autonomy on the highlight program, 11 o'clock. One of the questions that was asked me was, what do you think about local government autonomy? And I said, look, local government had autonomy up right from the beginning. From 1976, military government through their decrees, up to 1979 in the amendment, and down to 1999, we have local government autonomy in the part of law, at least my visit here, so maybe quote me right, in section 162, paragraph 6, 5, 6, and 8. And will tell you that there have been ever existing local government autonomy. However, what we lack in this era is power, capacity to implement, to enforce them. We don't need to go to the Supreme Court and get a case law to change an existing law. It's like running over events. And that's what we are doing. We do not need judiciary to tell us that local government has autonomy. We do not. But because man, being who we are, as corrupt as we are, we jettison the dictates of their autonomy. And we went back to the Supreme Court to claim authority. Now, having done all this, we are looking at work process analysis. In administration, what we do, we try to analyze our work process. In what we do, to achieve efficiency, because 21st century administration talks about efficiency and not effectiveness. Doing things in the doing things right in the right way, as always. And so, having discussed all this, one thing we must understand is that the world is looking at administration at a convergency level. Now, if you are a Briton and you get to Nigeria, you want to see administration the same way you saw it in your country. So that when you come be a stranger to the work system. And so that's why today we want to look at the information GAVEL. A GAVEL in law is a regulator, an influencer. What that means is that information is an instrument that changes the way administration work this day. It is. Without information, there is no administration. And so what we thought, when we talk about information, we are talking about those technologies that information may have brought to bear. And that's why we come to those solutions that help us drive information. Solutions. One of those is what we call e-administration. E-administration. Now, we want to run administration that is driven on electronic device. And how do we do it? Today, what we call e-document management. If you get to some offices, you will see one man writing memo. He will write to one, send to one woman or a man, sit on the seat, call a secretary for correction. It takes like another 30 minutes correction to come back to the man who originated the memo, and we'll go back to one man or woman called secretary. And before you know, they say time is money. In the present world, nobody needs that. What is happening to our intranet system? Stay on your laptop, run your message, send to who you want to send to. The response, sign, and the world moves on. Sometimes we do not quantify the quantity of papers that have added cost to administration. Some offices every day, they buy like 20 reams of paper. To do what at this age? To do what? When we don't need that. See, what we need in paper is like legal documents that can keep few. But all other aspects of administration should be driven without paper. Every man is his own secretary. With your laptop, with your phone, you can reach out to everybody. And so, now we have there was this other time I saw one of the secretary, messenger. The woman takes a piece of paper that has only 2 lines and walk from all sides to law. Only 2 lines in a piece of paper that is not filled. If the woman work for 2 months, you will see her develop sergeant, this rope on their faces. And before you know, the woman gets old quickly and dies. And is working in your organization. And we say it's for staff. This level of it's talking about working well, employees' well-being. Work in such a way that can live healthy for organization. So that's why we spend money on you, training you. And you work 2 weeks, you die the next week. And we now contribute money for burial. That's what we are. So we need to change our mentality about work, making our workers live well and work well. Now, e-records. Sometimes you get to some offices, you see one woman sitting under cabinet. With e-administration, the trees in the forest are here a sound relief. Because every day, carpenters go to the bush to cut trees, deforestation, and the world is talking about afforestation. We cut trees every day to be what? Cabinet. And every day when the tree sees a man coming, a tree will be crying. He said, "You look like you want to kill me today." And so, what we are doing in the new age administration is avoid trees, let them live so that you can breathe. Let the trees breathe, you can live. And so what we do, what stops us from providing an e-document file like we have in exams and record? It's a matter of using the student's matric number as a PIN number, right? As an access PIN. And so somebody can stay in America and send a message to the exam and record unit, get approval from the university administration, and before you know, within 5 minutes, transcript is out. But we live in a world where we live in a world where you ask for transcript from some from Ghana. It takes somebody 8 months. They couldn't find a result. And are we living? Are we really living? The world has left that level. We have moved. And if you are still there, something is wrong with you. And so, e-transaction. Now, one of the reasons why we don't have leakages in system is in transaction. Every payment should be done through e-platform. And this issue of creating 20 accounts is for fraud. Why don't we have one account? So that every money stock organization go through that. So we can have what we call accounting tray. When we do forensic audit, we can get it right. But we open 20 accounts, and so we can do shocky, place money in them. And we accuse federal government that federal government is corrupt. What are we doing here? You in your office, are you not? Are you not? Now, let's look at a cloud-based collaboration. Now, cloud-based enhance what we call digital workplace. It's a solution. What you need, sit in your house, and Shine is doing that now. All the multinational organizations are doing that now. You sit in your house and work, remote and virtual work life. Is now in town. Sometime during the COVID, you saw how interested it was to teach your students from anywhere in the world. From the very bed, I sit down sometimes on my bed and teach my students. Cloud-based collaboration, digital workplace. And we have document cloud platforms. We can collaborate in editing our documents online without passing papers from one point to the other. We can do that. And so, see, the university has what it takes to do that. We are just taking just 1% of ICT unit. If we exploit the strengths of ICT, you walk through the university and you know you are in university. And because it's like a culture, everywhere in our country is driven by this traditional approach to administration. Now, one solution that we must take cognizance of is what we call the enterprise content management. It's a set of processes, tools, and strategies that enable organizations to collect, manage, and organize content. Contents are warehoused in the central repository so that they are controlled. So the people in ICT, let me use the example of my university now. The people in ICT can manage all the content of the university. Anything you want to get, they can give you within minutes. That's what called enterprise content management. It is a set of defined processes, strategies, and technologies that allow a business to effectively acquire, organize, manage, store, deliver critical information to its business stakeholders, both inside and outside the university, the organization. So how do we run? Look at what now it does. You do data capture. There was some time in this Senate that when you get to the Senate, you just put your finger on the button, and your name is registered in the server of the Senate. Not standing outside and under the rain, you write your name, Party NKIINEBARI, NWINYOKPUGI. Before you finish, 8 hours gone. Those moments wasted. The time that Senate would have used to discuss critical business. We're using the word right names. We need to change our administrative spectrum so we can drive beautiful organizations. We can secure that using ACM. We can do more collaboration. We can do communication. Now, what we have web contents, collaborative content, transactional content. These are all the contents that we have in ACM. Then, having done this, we have to finally look at what we call administrative control. Look at, I mentioned before, the offerings of Max Weber. He said there must be control in administration. Without control, nothing works. There's something I forgot to discuss with us. Communication. It's a tool. There's this German scholar whose name is Erich Ben. Now, we know communication is in 3 models. We have what we call the linear model. We have what we call the interactional model and the transactional model. But I want to discuss linear and the transactional. When you operate in a linear model, what you do, you give instructions, and it's a must, somebody. It's a one-way thing, one-way flow. But the transactional model, you give instruction, and somebody reply you back. And you are not communicating until somebody understands the message and obeys. When there's no obedience to your message, you are just speaking, you are not communicating. And that's why Ben came out with what we call TA, transactional analysis. He said, let us analyze communication transactions. How do we do that? Now, he said, as a human being, you operate in what we call 3 ego states. He called one the parent ego state, the other adult ego state, and the last one, the child ego state. It's represented by PAC. Now, when you operate in the parent ego state, at all times, your message is always in command. You know what parents do? Parents know all. In those days when we were in school, your father will tell you that they took first in class. They're intelligent also. And my friend's parent will tell his own children that they took first. And you begin to ask, between my father and that other, my friend's father, who took first? Those things were just done to help spur us up so we can do well. It wasn't a lie. I tell my students sometimes, that's what we call positive lie and negative lie. A positive lie is a lie that will not cause harm or will protect you. Peter did that. Abraham did that. They never died. But don't allow your church to tell you that lie is lie. Not all lies are destructive. Some lies are good. No, imagine if Peter had not said that he doesn't know Christ. Where will he build the church by today? So on this rock I shall build your church. Where will Peter have built the church if he has not lied positively? So there is a difference between what we call positive lie and negative lie. I always implore you, do not lie negatively, but lie positively. And Ben came out with those 3 ego states and say, at all times you communicate, you manifest in any of the ego states. And so in that manifestations, what we call cross complementary transaction. That's when you give message. When I release my P to you, now a P is a parent ego message. Ego is a perception of yourself, who you are. It's a self thing. If you say you're a big man, only you know that you're a big man. That's your ego. And so you communicate in that your ego at all times. And so if I release a P, a parent's ego state to you, and you believe that I have capacity to do that, now what you do, you respond with your C, your child ego state. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I will do it. But when you feel that party has no right to release a P to you. You now release your own P to me. It becomes a cross-word transaction. That's what causes most of the conflicts in organization. Cross-transactional message. And that's why Ben said transaction communication has some very definite qualities. One, you must have what called perception. Know who you are talking to. Appreciate his life and his status before you give out your message. If you know that this man is a bigger man, with respect, it means that you code your message in a proper way. Is that not true? But if you take the guy for granted, you say, what does this guy say now? He gives you his own P, and there'll be trouble in the waters. And so Ben said, at all times, have perception. Consider the context with which you give message. Your father is not happy. He has a brawl with the wife last night, and you want school fees. You bounce into his room early in the morning and say, Daddy, I want school fees. What will the father do? My friend, get out. Because at that point, his state of mind is not okay. So allow your father to rest. Context. When he's free, he's laughing. You say, Daddy, I need that, you know. You say, I remember. Okay, I'll give you a check. Is that not good? It's gone. So know your context. Know your audience. And discipline is one control mechanism. For me, some persons see discipline as penalties. For me, I do not. Discipline is evangelism that brings order. What we preach to our children, to our followers, to our friends is discipline. However, but if you preach good news and the person refuses to follow it, it's deviance, right? If in the organization you're asking that certain things should be done in a proper order, and those things are not properly done, now that's a deviance. And so that's why I call discipline a two-side coin. One side of discipline is what we call reward, and the other one is a punishment. Now you get rewarded when you do that which is right, and get punished when you do that which is wrong. And so we say your punishment must be corrective in nature. When you punish, make sure that the punishment will be corrective. And when you reward, it should be motivational. Your punishment must be written down for every man to know. Don't be biased. Treat everyone equal. I think I don't want to overuse the time allocated to me. And I will say at this point, we have come to the close of my discourse. However, my conclusion, now of all I discussed, leadership is critical for administration to work well. A leader will be seen as a leader. You know, you don't play with rules. Because every man that works under you, they are looking at you, they copy you like a child. So when they see your deviation from the norm, they copy you immediately. And that's why we have issues everywhere. Leadership is very critical. If a leader is not good, the organization is not good and will never be good. So leadership should be upright and demonstrate the finesse of administration. We should ensure that we embrace what I have discussed in my 21st century approach to administration. All these things I've discussed, embrace them. They are very critical for better organizing, better organization. And at this point, I can say that I want to acknowledge all of us that have been part of my journey here. I want to acknowledge us. And I've started by acknowledging passionately my Vice Chancellor, Professor Sunday Nerum Ogogwele. At one point in my trial times in the university, he stood by me as a father. And so my life will never be complete without mentioning him here. I don't have any reason not to appreciate my chairman, the chairman of inaugural lecture, the man who made me here to be here. Thank you, sir. I appreciate. I have the privilege to acknowledge Dr. Mrs. Ugoji, the man, the woman who taught me. Is my mentor. It's a great brain that I have. I have two of my senior brothers here with me in this hall. One is Professor Christian Okpara, a senior brother and a friend. And the other is Professor Isaac Zeb Obipi. I may have faults, but they never saw it. They see me as a friend. And that's why at all times I'm with them. I thank you, sir. My young dean, thank you, and your team. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. My father, I appreciate the elders of my faculty. Professor Okwandu, Professor Seth Akra Jaja, Professor Hamilton, and other professors in this faculty that have stood to be my friends, my colleagues. On behalf of the staff and students of Office and Information Management, I stand tall to appreciate Professor Bibi Fakai. I appreciate my DVCs and my humble and bold registrar. In my first life in the university, each time I bring papers and I want to travel for external conferences outside the country, as soon as he sees my name, you just sign. Thank you, man. And so, Pastor Fakai was a man who have made me to be here. You know, when the program was approved in 2006, there was no finance to run it. But I took the program to him when he assumed office as VC. I said, sir, this is what I think you can do for us. He said, Patrick, this is where the world is going to. And he approved. And now gave me a mandate, go and give me a budget of 10 million, and will provide the facilities. That dream that I had as a student today is realized. Thank you. And so on behalf of this department, sir, I thank you. Without you, maybe we won't be here. I won't fail to acknowledge and thank my father in this house, Dr. C.S. Winia. His wife. I have the privilege to appreciate Barrister Hize, who was my boss in Share, though not here, and OCJ Okocha, who took me around the legal systems in Shell. I also acknowledge Barrister Paul Kabari, my legal senior. I'm not a lawyer, but they're my senior. And all the members of my editorial committee, led by Professor Nsereka, thank you. I appreciate you. My chairman, Dr. Asawo Penwe, humble, hardworking. And the secretary, Dr. Veronica Ugoji. Other members, Chairman Professor Paul Nadube, a chairman of my technical committee, and Dr. Okechukwu Oma, chairman protocol, and my reader, my sister, Dr. Stella Wolu, and all the members of the entertainment committee. I thank you all. To my family, my beautiful wife, my daughter, everybody here, I thank you. My sons in university, some persons build me, some also building other persons. Dr. Fito Dumnamene, thank you. Dr. Emmanuel Ikromasoma, I thank you. Mr. Lebari Donano, I thank you. These are my academic children. And they gave me that encouragement to be where I am today. I'm grateful to my University of Science and Technology classmates, 1997 set. They stood by me in all I do. I thank you. Anywhere you are, in America, in Canada, in England, I thank you. To God I owe all I am and have been. No wonder my parents named me NKIINEBARI, meaning I give all to God. Thank you and God bless you.
Please, can we put our hands once again for the inaugural lecturer, the 102nd inaugural lecturer, for his presentation. It's my pleasure once again to hand over to my boss, the acting registrar, to invite the Vice Chancellor for his closing remarks.
The former Vice Chancellors, the Deputy Vice Chancellors, and other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure once more to invite the Vice Chancellor to give his closing remarks. The Vice Chancellors.
Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you can see that we did not make a mistake at all in appointing Professor Patrick NWINYOKPUGI as a professor of information management and administration in our university. It takes an expert. It takes somebody who is versed with his field to be able to present an inaugural lecture without looking at the manuscript. For me, it's also a manifestation of the fact that he actually has a mastery of his area. And you have seen that today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will just attempt, because as I always say, we lawyers, we are the master of everything. Our inaugural lecturer started by drawing our attention to his historical trajectory and entry into office management and administration. He drew our attention to administrative concerns of the 21st century. These include labor relations, moral deficits, and the attendant crisis, among others. He spoke about value-based leadership, which can be used to influence the employees and followers. Some of the values are respect, making difference, courage, humility, institutional ethos, stewardship, and influence. He spoke about the dual nature leadership model. That is, for example, you have 2 legs, we have 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 ears, etc. He says that these embody the ideal you and the alter you. This typology refers to the primary and secondary personality. He referred to ideal bureaucracy otherwise known as Dodd-Check paradox. Again, he referred to corruption as a moral dwarf that is stultifying progressive growth and development in society. And then he now formulated some strategies for dealing with corruption. Everybody talks about it, but rarely do we consider how we can curb this monster. Functional laws, he says, are important, that they must be respected and enforced. Then we should also have strong institutions. He says that with strong institutions, corrupt practices can be reduced. And then he talked about the concept of local government autonomy. We are all talking about it today. And he says that local government autonomy is already there. And that all we need is for the leaders of local government administration to effectively assert the autonomy already given to them by law. He says that in considering all of this, we need to use information as the GAVEL that will drive administration. And then he talked about the need for policy and compliance. He says that with the present information age, we do not need the use of papers. Communication and administrative issues can be handled online. We therefore need to change our attitude to work. We should use e-records to address issues of transcript preparation and so on. With e-transactions, we do not need several accounts in an establishment or organization. Remote working from homes, it was utilized during the COVID pandemic. Then he talked about enterprise content management, which has three components, namely web content management, collaborative content management, and transactional content management. And then he now delved into an area that some Christians may want to challenge him. He talked about positive lies and negative lies. And he argues that some lies are good. I don't know how some Christians will take that, but that is his position, and he explained why he thinks that some lies that are positive are good and acceptable. And then, of course, he concluded by stating that leadership is central to the effectiveness of an administrative system. And he made some recommendations. I'd just like to mention three. He said that the ideal bureaucracy should be respected and observed as strong administrative tools for efficient organization. Then secondly, that strong rules and institutions should be upheld as mitigants and measures should also be taken to curb the spread of the cancer of corruption. And then finally he said we should leverage on information communication technology to ensure administrative success. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want us to put our hands together for this able, dynamic, hardworking, and focused professor who has demonstrated his expertise in this area of learning. And I say that as a university, we have been doing this every month. We want to also urge you to honor us when next we call you, because every month we hold inaugural lectures, and we've been doing that for the past several years. And it's a testament to the fact that we are committed to research and learning and also reaching out to our communities. Thank you, and God bless all of us.
The Vice Chancellor, sir. It's my pleasure to invite our Vice Chancellor to decorate the inaugural lecturer.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my special pleasure and privilege as the Vice Chancellor of this university to decorate our inaugural lecturer with the medal showing that today, the 31st day of July 2024, that he has given his inaugural. as we lawyers say, this is the primary evidence that today, the 31st day of July 2024, Professor Patrick NKIINEBARI NWINYOKPUGI has given the 102nd inaugural lecture of River State University. The importance of this is that, let me just say it. Somebody used this one to win election as dean of a faculty. So it's important that you have given your inaugural lecture today. Congratulations.
Appreciate the inaugural lecturer again. Congratulations. 102. The Vice Chancellor, sir. Let me, at this point, invite the chairman of the Senate Lectures Committee, Professor Hudson Okoima, for the vote of thanks.
The Vice Chancellor, sir. We are leveraging now, so I will leverage on the established protocol. Let me first of all thank God for the very successful 102nd inaugural lecture. And many thanks to the Vice Chancellor for making inaugural lectures a monthly academic festival. Thank you, sir. The Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration Academic, the acting registrar, the librarian, the orator and dean of administration and management, the people's dean, a very proactive dean, we thank all of you for coming. Members of the 14th Governing Council, former vice chancellors, emeritus professors, and former deputy vice chancellors, we thank you all for coming. Heads of campuses, provosts of College of Medicine, the dean of PG School, professors, deans, and directors, and HODs, we all appreciate your presence. Royal Highnesses, clergymen, members of the fourth realm, and students, thanks for coming. Of course, I owe special gratitude to my committee members, Professor Jones Jaja, Professor John Aka, and Professor Nwafo. To the inaugural lecturer, a high flyer, an erudite professor, thanks for a simplified inaugural lecture. The next inaugural lecture will hold on the 28th of August, 2024. I want to assure you it's going to be another academic festival. You're all cordially invited. God bless all of you.
The Vice Chancellor, sir, we've come to the end of the 102 inaugural lecture. Vice Chancellor, permit me to invite a former Vice Chancellor of this great university, Professor Barineme Fakai, for the closing prayer.
Shall we pray, please? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. When we started, we called you that you see us through this particular inaugural lecture. You have made the scholar to educate us and to inform us. Thank you, Father, for what you are doing for this university. Thank you for the Vice Chancellor and the management and all those who wish this university well. We pray, Father, Lord, for all the people who have come. As we go, may we go safely. Bless the inaugural lecturer, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
University Anthem.
We sing of thee, flower of knowledge and peace. In the garden city stands a tree, from whence inspiration
honor the academic procession as they recess in reverse order, led by the Vice Chancellor.
right out of my chest and place it in the palm of your hands, just to show you how much I need